Next, we talk about how much house can you afford. For most people, buying a home is the biggest investment they'll ever make. But even though ownership is, we've seen, bestows several benefits, many people make a regrettable mistake once they've made the decision to buy over commitment. Buying a house that's too expensive for their pocketbooks. Don't settle yourself with a house payment that you can't afford. In addition, new home buyers quickly discover that the typical demands of the ownership, especially the demand on their time and other resources of maintaining to improve a home, tend to cut into the money left over for recreation, eating out, taking vacations, and buying new cars. I beg your pardon, please. You can reduce the financial pressure by calculating in advance the realistic price range, one that not only lets you buy a house but also lets you to live reasonably pleasant life once you're in it. Most people need a loan to buy a house or a condominium. A mortgage loan is a loan that's secured by the property, the home being purchased. Because the size of a loan depends on the cost of the property, both borrowers and lenders want to know whether the buyer can afford the house they want. How can you determine how much you can afford? One time tested, though somewhat conservative rule of thumb cautions the buyer to keep the price below 2.5 times his or her annual income. Thus, if your income is $40,000 a year, look for a house price below 120,000. Any such calculation, however, will give you just a rough estimate of what you can afford. There are other considerations too. What you can afford also depends on how much money you have for a down payment and how much you can borrow. Lending institutions use two guidelines for estimating a buyer's borrowing capacity. Number one, a borrower's ability to meet the recurring cost of buying or owning it. Number two, the other long term debts that the buyer has already incurred. PITI. What are those recurring costs? Every month, homeowner must pay principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. PITI. For short, because all four costs are greater for more expensive homes. The buyer's monthly obligation depends on how much house he or she has bought. The size of the principal and the interest payments depend on the mortgage amount, the length of the mortgage loan, and the interest rate. Obviously, if you borrow a fixed amount, the larger your monthly payment, the faster you'll pay off your loan. And the monthly payments on conventional loans are lower for the longer term loans, higher for the larger interest rates. In calculating loan applications, the lenders use PITI calculations to estimate the buyer's financial capacity, his or her ability to meet monthly payments. To determine how much someone is likely to lend you, calculate 28% of your gross monthly income, that is before taxes and other deductions. If your PITI costs don't exceed that figure, you'll probably get a loan. With a monthly gross income of $4,000, for example, your PITI cost shouldn't exceed $1,120, 28% of the 4,000. Well, it gives you a sample calculation, and you should be able to make step-by-step computations of plugging your own numbers into the worksheet. Other long-term debts. In evaluating financial capacity, the lenders also look at uh, any outstanding debt that will take the borrower more than 10 months to pay off, such as car loans, child support loans, alimony payments, student loans, credit card bills. In general, they will accept the long term indebtedness of including the PITI that amounts to 36% of the gross income. Remember that PIT itself can be up to 28%. You might be allowed as little as 8% in other long term debts. With your $4,000 monthly gross income, your your total debt should be less than 1,440, which allows you to live your life accordingly.